Happy Saturday morning, everyone. New this morning, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver talking for the first time since the league was rocked by a federal gambling indictment involving an active player and Hall of Fame coach. Silver saying he is deeply disturbed. He went on to say, quote, "There's nothing more important to the league and the fans than the integrity of the competition. And so I had a pit in my stomach. It was very upsetting," end quote. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat forward Terry Rozier have been indicted on multiple gambling and fraud charges. Those charges, part of a federal gambling scheme takedown in which the FBI arrested not only those involved in the sports spotlight, but also mafia families behind the scenes. Here with us is federal criminal defense attorney Ronald Chapman. Ronald, I will start with you. NBA Hall of Famer, mafia, underground gambling. It is all the ingredients you need for a great movie. What was the most surprising aspect of this case to you?
That it was charged in the first place. I mean, let's not talk about the poker because that's a whole different story, but the idea that now we have the Department of Justice standing in for the bookies and criminalizing the use of non-public information as if there's an SEC controlling sports gambling is something that's incredibly foreign to me. They had an opportunity to regulate this industry. It hasn't been regulated, but bringing charges so quickly because of the use of information and in this sort of wild space of sports betting is something that people didn't really have notice of and shouldn't have been criminalized in the first place. So speaking outside of the gambling indictments, I'm surprised that there are 37 people that are wrapped up in this use of non-public information that have now been indicted.
Ron, from a legal standpoint, was there anything more the league could have done once those suspicious bets were initially flagged?
I'm not so sure that the league could because they lack the regulatory power. I mean, remember, the league is a business. It's not a governmental entity. They do the best that they can, just like any business that might find out that there's misconduct. And normally you have a duty not to participate in the conduct. But the idea that you are forced to investigate and uncover some wrongdoing or a perceived wrongdoing, that's a difficult question there. And here's the reality. This is not just going to be cabined to sports. Think about this. The use of inside information to determine which cow you should purchase at the auction. The use of inside information for anything in life could be treated the same way, which gives the Department of Justice the power to determine whether or not something is fraudulent simply based on whether or not they want to charge it. And that's a very, very difficult position for people in the United States to be in because without regulations, we sort of do our best. Now, that's not to excuse the use of inside information. We hope that people act the right way, but there's a difference between morality and crime. And the difference there is whether or not people have been put on notice that something is considered criminal activity.
Ronald, I know what Lester thinks about this. I want to ask from your legal perspective. On Thursday, the NCAA announced they're allowing athletes to bet on professional sports. Should we expect to hear more cases similar to this, where players who are now in the pros tip off their friends who are still in college?
Yeah, this was actually my first concern when I saw these indictments come down. And actually one of my concerns when I saw that we were going to be expanding betting in this way. It has been expanded so far. And, you know, as we've already been talking about, people do everything that they can to find an edge. We see how much people get caught up in these sorts of games and these sorts of bets. And it's a tremendous temptation out there for folks. So as we see betting opened up to the NCAA, as we see this expanded so far, we see the DOJ try to step in and do something about it by putting people on notice. Traditionally, though, these types of indictments don't do a very good job at preventing people from engaging in further criminal activity. The reality is that deterrence is not that great of a factor in preventing people from engaging in other activity, especially when the conduct isn't something that is clearly defined, like this, the use of inside information. It's really hard to anticipate what people will take issue with in terms of the use of inside information.
Well, many people agree with both of you. This could become a lot bigger and affect so many other sports, not just basketball. Ronald Chapman, Lester Ricard Jr., thank you again, gentlemen.